especially if you're watching and you're between 20 and 30 years old, or between 15 and 30 years old. At the end of the day, you have no idea how to communicate. When you create this affinity, networking happens, magic happens. This is how your life gets better in every aspect.
He's built multi-million-dollar companies. His explosive books on health and wealth have sold over 60 million copies. Now, the Kevin Trudeau Show they don't want you to know.
So let's talk about some magic of how you can have influence over other people. First off, there's a couple books that you should read. If you haven't read them, it's on my recommended list. This one here, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. One of the best books of all time on dealing with people. You should read it and then read it again and then read it again and then read it a few more times, underline things, and apply what you're reading every day and go back to the book. Any book by Dale Carnegie is spectacular. This one is a must-read. Next. How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. Any book by Les Giblin. He's got some of them that are like 10 pages. The Art of Dealing with People, and there's a couple other. Read them. This gives you insight, spectacular. Why is dealing with people such a critical and important aspect of your life, and why should you focus on it? Especially if you're watching and you're between 20 and 30 years old, or between 15 and 30 years old. At the end of the day, you have no idea how to communicate. You think that you communicate with people by giving them your Instagram, and then you communicate that way. Look, there's an art and science of communication. If you can communicate with another person, you create affinity with that person. And if you create affinity, then you can work more collaboratively together. If you get people to like you, you can then work better together and develop masterminds, and you and them can get more out of life, in addition to creating connections which young people do not have today. Young people do not have the connections with other human beings like we did years ago, primarily because of social media. The amount of hours that people spend on social media, communicating via social media instead of a phone call, instead of a Zoom, or instead of, most importantly, live and in person. It's mind-numbing what you're doing with social media. It is numbing your mind. I've said it before in the show. When you're on social media, these apps, whether it's Facebook or X, they are set up to create dopamine hits in your brain that you need. Once you don't get that, once your brain is trained by getting dopamine hits, it needs it, and therefore you are addicted, physically addicted to the social media apps. And if you unplug, you have anxiety and panic attacks, and you go into a state of depression. That's a big problem. You cannot concentrate, and if you can't concentrate and focus on a project, you can't accomplish things. The fact is, people have their phone by them, and when they're working on a project, they keep looking at their phone because it goes ping, ping, ping. I had a guy at my house, IT guy. I said, "You need to come over and check my computer." So he comes over, and I'm talking to him, and I'm saying, "Okay, so let me explain exactly what the situation is." So he's there, he's listening, and all of a sudden there's a ping, and he looks at his watch, and then he comes back, and I'm like, that was annoying. So I'm looking him at the eyes. So I go, "So this, let me tell you what I'm." So I start saying something, and I want him to concentrate, and all of a sudden he looks at his watch. And then I start talking, and virtually within 3 or 4 minutes, he looks at his watch. I go, "Do you have someplace to go? Why do you keep looking at your watch?" And he goes, "Oh, it's my Apple Watch, and I'm getting notifications." I said, "Well, take the goddamn thing off." I go, "You're not concentrating. You're not here. You're not in present time. How do you expect to get anything done in your life?" And I go, "Wait a minute. Now I understand why you haven't accomplished anything in your life." because you don't have any ability to concentrate. You're not putting attention on something long enough to actually make it manifest. It's like taking some dry leaves, and if you have one of these, not microscopes, what do they call it? Not a telescope. Magnifying glass. You have a magnifying glass and you hold it and the sun comes down and you have to hold it steady so that the sun is concentrated, focused, and it's steady at one spot long enough to turn it into fire. This is how you manifest things, by getting people to concentrate and focus. So you don't have interpersonal skills. And how do I know this is true? Because when I meet people, nobody has any personal skills. John Denny does. He's my age. We get together. We have stimulating conversation. He knows how to have a conversation. He knows how to meet somebody for the very first time. Him and I could go out, or some of my other friends from our generation, we can go to anywhere. And within 10 minutes, we have met people, we're having conversations with people, and we get to know them. They get to know us, we get to know them, and we create affinity. When you create this affinity, networking happens, magic happens. This is how your life gets better in every aspect. It's through people. God works through people. Oh, yeah, I don't like that word, God. Oh, God, come on. All right, forget God. The force works through people. Infinite intelligence works through people. Consciousness works through people. Miracles work through people. Energy works through people. You have to be able to communicate with other people and develop affinity. Hi, I'm Kevin Trudeau. This is everything they don't want you to know about to improve the quality of your life. Broadcasting every Monday and Wednesday, 2 days a week now. Monday and Wednesday at 1 o'clock Chicago time. Make sure you tune in and subscribe to the channel and share these shows with everyone you know.